I hid my ex-flings from my public Instagram account, telling my partner I was uncomfortable. Now she wants to leave. I've tried to explain, but she feels betrayed. After a past of harassment, I thought this was best for us. How do I fix this mess? I feel lost and downcast. I wrote this for the asshole subreddit because she requested it, but I altered it here due to word count. Please bear with me as it is somewhat lengthy, and I would appreciate any advice as I genuinely want to improve for my partner. Summary: I concealed my exes from my public account because I felt uncomfortable. My partner inquired about it, I explained, which led to an argument, and she now wants to leave me because of it. I am using a throwaway account because I have acquaintances who know my main account. For context, I am a 25-year-old male, my partner is a 25-year-old female, and we are both Muslims. This background information is important later. English is my second language, so I apologize if I make any grammatical errors or misuse words. I maintain both a public and a private account on Instagram. Initially, I had just one account with a limited number of followers because I wanted to connect with a select few people on social media. However, in the middle of last year, I decided to create a public account because my follower count on the original account was increasing, and not everyone was accepting of the lifestyle I was living as a Muslim. Close friends were not enough, so I aimed to keep my truly close friends on my private account and move others to my public one. Additionally, I thought that by creating the public account, I could reconnect with people I had not interacted with when I only had one account. A bit more background: before I was with my partner, I was speaking to another girl from a different country. I didn't want to continue our conversations due to the distance, and she began to harass me persistently, making numerous phone calls until I finally answered. She shouted at me during the call. I was also ill that day and had just vomited before she called. Attempted to publicly shame me on Twitter with screenshots and by tagging my friends, and even sought to enlist my former ex in disparaging me. Thankfully, my ex and friends did not believe her claims as they know me in real life, but that experience deeply affected me. Returning to the creation of my public account, I started connecting with everyone from my private account and others not in my private account, including some exes and individuals with whom I had a sexual history. Since my teenage years, I have been influenced by shows like Friends, The Big Bang Theory, How I Met Your Mother, New Girl, and various others that portray friendships with exes as possible if the breakup was amicable and boundaries are respected. That's how I have interacted with my exes. Before my relationship with my partner, I occasionally texted or replied to stories from my exes while maintaining those boundaries. When I created the public account, I connected with my exes and others, some of whom were also on the account that had been switched to private. I believed that even if I wasn't maintaining friendships with all my exes, staying connected with them could be beneficial for future work or favors, so I thought it was useful to have them on Instagram. A few of them remained on my private account, although one unfollowed me, likely due to a new relationship. After setting up the public account, I hardly utilized it, only occasionally following back, posting a story, or replying to messages. I might check the account once or twice a month. Another point to note is that I created the public account around a month before my partner and I became officially involved. A couple of months into our relationship, we argued about my continued communication with my exes and individuals from my sexual past. At that time, I believed it was acceptable to maintain friendships with exes, but given how much it affected my partner, I changed my perspective and chose to stop communicating with them. So I promptly ceased contact with those I was still in touch with, deleted the messages, and removed them from my private account since those were the only individuals I considered. I did not think about the individuals I followed on my public account until some time later when the ex I had removed from my private account replied to a story that I posted with my partner. I would not have minded, except that I had shared that story on my private account, and since she had been removed, I found it strange that she responded to that particular post. I checked and discovered that I had mistakenly shared it on my public account, which I immediately removed because she was not wearing a hijab, and there are individuals on my public account who would not accept that. I did not want anyone close to me to learn about it. I explained the situation to my partner, and she asked why the girl was still on my public account. I inquired if she wanted me to remove her, and she said no. It being a public account that I used infrequently, I did not think much of her response. However, after that incident, I began to reflect on how it could be used against me and my partner, and it highlighted my feelings of discomfort, particularly in light of the previous experience with the girl from the other country, which I only realized today was not the main reason at the time. My partner also mentioned the concept of the evil eye. In Islam, this is the belief that negative things can happen when others view us with envy, which was also not my primary reason, so I thought it would be acceptable. Ultimately, I was truly bothered by the situation and it made me feel uneasy. Therefore, I went through my follower list and hid anyone I felt uncomfortable with, including exes and those from earlier sexual encounters. I even included individuals with whom I had no past connection, and I later found it peculiar that I felt the need to hide my stories from friends who were on my private account, as they had already seen me with my partner. Nevertheless, I did what I did and moved on. I also decided that should I connect or reconnect with anyone who made me uncomfortable, I would hide them temporarily until I felt okay about it. Sometimes I do this automatically, and sometimes I review the person, so I do not recall who I have hidden or not. I even hid my siblings and my mother until very recently. Today, my partner asked me about my hidden list for my private account. I could not remember, so I checked and found that no one was hidden, and I informed her. She also inquired about my private account. I recalled hiding my siblings and my mother, so I shared that and mentioned I would check. When I looked, I noticed that my mother and two siblings were no longer on that list. I do not even remember unhiding them, as sometimes I do it reflexively, and told her this. By this point, aside from recent reconnections, I felt comfortable with everyone else. I was also getting serious with my partner, as she had met all my family members and joined us for Eid. Since I hardly used the public account, keeping that in mind, I unhid everyone except for my other two siblings. Yet another argument arose when my partner asked why I had hidden them from my story. I told her that it made me uncomfortable. She pressed for reasons, and I reiterated that I was uncomfortable. I struggled to articulate why it felt uncomfortable, and that was all I kept saying. She persisted, prompting me to think about the girl from the other country, and I shared that with her, which I realized today. She also reminded me of her comment about the evil eye. She further questioned why no boys were hidden, and I showed her that there were no recent males I distrusted or felt uneasy about. The only men I had interacted with were my high school teacher and my close friend's cousin, with whom I got along well, so I didn't feel the need to hide them. I also noted that I had seen an old school friend in the suggested follows and had requested to connect with him, but since he had not responded or followed me back, I hadn't hidden him yet. I planned to hide him because he was quite religious and I didn't want him to see my stories until I was comfortable doing so. Given that there were no recent individuals I felt uneasy about, I understand why she might have trouble believing me. She is now extremely upset and wants to end our relationship. I want to do everything possible to stay together because I love her and wish to be with her exclusively. She is the only one I have introduced to my parents, and I do not want anyone else but her. Please advise me on what I should do to resolve this situation. Story 2. After losing the love of my life, I poured my heart out in a letter. I still see you with eyes filled with admiration. I wished for one last conversation to close our chapter. Can I find peace after being told, you meant the whole world to me? I do not know if these words will ever reach you. I do not think any part of you still wants to hear them. However, I need to write them. Not to ask you for anything, not to change what is already in the past, but because what I feel is so deep that it cannot be kept in silence. I want to speak to you with complete honesty because I know that is the least you deserve. It would be a lie to say I do not miss you. I would be lying if I said I do not think of you every time something important happens to me or even in the little moments of the day. There are still so many things I wish I could share with you. I would be lying if I denied that you are still, to me, the most incredible woman I have ever known. But I also recognize that I hurt you. A lot. And even though you hurt me too, I do not blame you for closing off, for moving on, for no longer feeling the same. I understand your decision, no matter how much it hurts. I accept that what we had is now behind us and that we probably will not ever find each other like before. I am only asking for patience, not to come back, but to allow me to learn how to let go. I am in that process trying to heal. But it is not easy, believe me, it is not easy to let go of the love of your life even if I am not yours. Because if it were easy to let you go, then it would not have been love, it would have been something else, something not worth feeling. I have changed, I do not expect you to believe me, and I understand if you do not, I failed you. But today, with my heart in my hands, I can say that I am no longer the same man who hurt you. I sought help. I hit rock bottom, and honestly, I cried more times than I would like to admit. I faced myself and saw a reality I had never imagined. It was not easy, but it was necessary. Even though that transformation did not bring you back, it opened my eyes to many truths I could not see before. Among all of that, there is one thing I cannot let another day pass without saying. I am incredibly proud of you, for what you do, yes, but above all for how you rise, for your strength, for your ability to keep going when everything seems against you. It hurts to accept that I am no longer there to see it up close, but even from afar I admire you. I see you and I see so many things that could have been different, things we never got to do and never will. I wanted to be your support, your refuge, but I ended up being a storm. I let myself get carried away by pain, by anger, by sadness. I made decisions that hurt you when all I wanted was to protect you. I am not looking for justification or comfort. I just wanted you to know that, despite everything, I still see you with the same eyes of admiration I have always had for you. I know you may have heard things that are not true. People saying I speak badly about you, that I insult you, that I despise you, or say you are not worth it. Even though it hurts that those words may have reached you at all, I want to beg you not to believe them. You know how people are, how they invent, how they twist the truth. But you know me, or at least I want to believe you do. You know who I am deep down, and even if I am a fool, I would never do that to you. So I am telling you with all my heart, I never spoke badly about you. I would never disrespect you, not only because I do not think anything bad about you, but because I love you with everything I have. No, I do not believe for a second all the ugly things people say I said. If you ever doubt, if you ever need to know the truth, ask anyone who has heard me talk about you, and they will tell you that all I do is speak of you with affection. Because even with a broken heart, all I feel for you is love. Even with the distance, you are still too important to me to let anyone see you through anything other than the eyes I learned to look at you, with eyes filled with tenderness and affection so deep that the pain I feel is nothing compared to the love I still carry for you. I know you think I will find someone else someday, and maybe you are right. Perhaps that day will come, but it will not be you. And that though I accept, it hurts more than I can put into words, because the love I feel for you has not changed, even if I have. I have been told many things, that I did not deserve you, that you never loved me, that I idealized you, or that you just wanted control, that I was simply a phase for you. Maybe people said the same things about me to you, but no one was inside our story except for us. And even though everyone talks, I have learned not to listen to outsiders. So I choose to keep the good, what you were, your intensity, your way of feeling. You were not perfect, and neither was I, but you were you. And that means something. I did not just love you for who you were on the inside. I also loved you for who you were on the outside. I still love how you look, your body, your face, your voice, your gestures. The way you walked, the way you tied your hair, the way you laughed without realizing how beautiful you were. I have tried, but no one makes me feel the way you did. To my eyes, everything about you is perfect, even if you cannot see yourself that way. Maybe I no longer have a place in your life. Perhaps my words do not mean anything to you now. But if there is one thing I want you to remember, just in case you ever doubt it, and at the risk of sounding repetitive, I am proud of you. No matter what happens, no matter what you do, I will never be disappointed in you. Because no matter how hurt I am, I know you are not someone who tries to cause pain. You have a huge heart, one of the many reasons I fell in love with you. I can only regret that you cannot see me the same way I see you. Eventually, I will get over you. I know it. The day will come when I will not see you through these love-filled eyes anymore. Honestly, I hope that day comes soon, because I do not want to keep suffering like this. And I am sorry for being so cold right after we broke up. I thought that if I did not show what I felt, it would hurt less. When I saw that you seemed fine, that it looked like you were not affected by what we had lost, I forced myself to believe I did not care either. Now I know that was a mistake. Hiding what you feel does not make it disappear. Maybe that is why I am writing all this, because I have changed. Because I do not want to stay silent anymore or pretend I am okay when I am not. I do not want to keep acting like you did not matter to me, because that was never true. Maybe you felt the same at some point, that I did not value you, that you did not matter to me, that I just used you. But if there is one thing I want to make clear, it is this: you meant the whole world to me. And honestly, I am scared. I am scared that he will make you feel the way I made you feel. I truly want you to be happy. I really do, but it terrifies me to think that the same connection I felt with you, you might now feel with him. That he makes you laugh the way I did, that he looks at you like I did, that he hugs you and gives you the peace I so badly wanted to give you. This is not about empty jealousy or a childish tantrum at seeing you with someone else. It is the real pain of seeing the woman I love most in someone else's arms. And yes, I know it sounds selfish, but it is what I feel. Because even though I want you to be happy, if I could choose, or if I could make a wish, I would wish that you found that happiness with me. Well, there is one thing I can tell you with total honesty. Even if it looks like I am doing fine with other people, even if you see me laughing or spending time with someone else, the truth is no one makes me feel the way you did. No one is as fun as you. No one has that something you had. No one has what you have, the reason I fell in love. Absolutely no one has ever made me feel as safe, as seen, as at home as you did. You have many people who support you, who surround you, who accompany you. You were my anchor, my safe place. That is why your absence weighs more than anyone else's, because you were my world. So imagine how I feel now that you are gone. Even if I get over you, a part of you will stay with me. Because you mattered, because you left a mark, because my love was real, even if maybe yours was not. All I ask for is one last conversation, not to change what you have already decided, but to be able to close this chapter with the love it deserves. What we lived, with all its good and bad, was something beautiful, and I do not want to be left holding on to just the pain. I want closure worthy of the person I loved. And yes, I won, I was right. I loved you more than you loved me, and that is okay. Deep down, I always knew, and I have learned to live with that. Maybe your turtle already made it to the moon, but mine still has a long way to go. Story 3. My best friend turned out to be a selfish leech who constantly used me. All the things I want, you get them double, she said, while borrowing money for her lifeline. After years of lies and resentment, I learned true friendship is about mutual respect, not shared hobbies. How did I finally cut ties? I am a 26-year-old female who had a friend, also 26 years old, for 21 years. The only person who understood my passion for anime and drawing at a time when others labeled it a peculiar hobby. We attended the same school from kindergarten to first grade until she decided to transfer, yet our friendship persisted because we lived literally next door to each other. If that were not enough, our birthdays were just 3 days apart. It felt like destiny. She was not a bad person. In fact, she was quite nice, enjoyable to talk to, and easy to be around. This made it all the more challenging to let go. However, she was also thoughtless, dishonest, and dependent. For the longest time, I allowed her to drain my energy. I loved her and valued our friendship. Over time, I, however, came to understand that she did not value me in the same way. She frequently let me down, and no matter how much I tried to overlook it, the resentment continued to accumulate. She was never genuinely happy for me. In high school, during one argument, she once exclaimed, "All the things I want in this world, you receive them double unintentionally." Initially, I dismissed her comment. Yet, I began to notice how she would make an effort for other friends but never for me. I observed how she would prioritize others over me, even though I had always been there for her. She was never overtly cruel, nor did she engage in any blatant sabotage. But in the manner she treated me, I recognized it. The resentment, the jealousy, and the subtle ways she made me feel insignificant. Then there were the lies. On one occasion, we arranged to go clubbing, just the two of us, along with her boyfriend and a few of her friends. Or so I presumed. Later, I discovered that she had invited my ex-boyfriend without informing me. I found out because I had access to my ex-boyfriend's Teams account. Before anyone criticizes me for snooping, they both used my laptop and never logged out. And before anyone inquires, yes, we were that close. We shared not only social media passwords but also logins for various websites, games, and anything else we needed. Sometimes we even logged in for each other to upload, edit, or address something. When I checked her messages with a mutual friend, I saw her call me annoying for canceling our plans. I confronted her and she lied directly to me. She tried to blame her boyfriend, claiming he was the one who invited my ex. However, when I informed her that I already knew the truth, she finally confessed. Her excuse. She was afraid of my reaction because I had previously traumatized her by cutting off other people. As if she were the victim, as if I had betrayed her. She also borrowed money from me repeatedly. I did not mind, as I understood she was struggling, but she always took ages to repay me, sometimes arriving 1 to 2 months late. Then, when she lost her job, she pleaded with me to take out a loan under my name through an online lending app because she lacked a SIM card to apply herself. She promised she would pay me back within 15 days. When the due date arrived, she extended it to 2 months. The most frustrating part, my brother was hospitalized during that period. I needed money for transportation and food, but instead of being able to use the amount I had loaned her, I had to wait for her to repay me. Deep down, I realized that if the roles were reversed, she would never do the same for me. And that realization, it shattered me. Not because I expected anything in return, but because it exposed the truth I had been avoiding all along, that our friendship was never truly balanced. No matter how much I contributed or how much I sacrificed for her, she would never reciprocate. That hurt more than anything else. I had spent years believing that, at the very least, she cared. But ultimately, I was merely someone she could exploit. She also took advantage of my kindness, even when it caused me pain. She rejected the idea of purchasing a laptop even though I advised her it was essential. Instead, she opted for a cheaper desktop. However, when she needed to travel to another city to see her boyfriend, guess what? She borrowed my laptop to work remotely. Obviously, you cannot take a desktop on a plane. She assured me she would return it in 4 days. She even bought a return flight, so I had no reason to doubt her. But then she discovered that her boyfriend was cheating on her. Instead of returning home, she chose to stay longer to resolve their issues. Of course, that meant my laptop remained with her too. She told me she would return it via courier service, but then she stated she ran out of money. She requested an extension, then another one, and yet another. I finally reached my breaking point when my sisters confronted me, telling me I was being a doormat. I sent her screenshots of what they said. Instead of taking responsibility, she played the victim. Is that truly how you perceive me? If that is how you feel, then fine. I had no intention of keeping your laptop. I do not understand why you thought this was the opportune time to do this to me. That was when I knew. There would never be an appropriate time to establish boundaries with her, because in her perspective, her feelings would always take precedence over mine. She always had an excuse, always. Yes, she had struggles. She was the sole breadwinner for her entire family. Her siblings in their 20s did not work, so she covered their food expenses. Her boyfriend was unemployed for 5 years, so she supported him as well. Additionally, she had a child to care for. So yes, she faced financial challenges, and yes, she was under stress. But guess what? That did not grant her the right to mistreat me. It did not excuse lying, manipulating, or treating me as a backup option. She eventually apologized. She expressed her love for me and her desire to make amends. But by that point, I was finished. I told her just pay it forward. Then now, I simply observe. I did not block her, we are still connected on social media, but we no longer communicate. Instead, I watch and I hear things. Recently, a mutual friend reached out to me. She decided to cut her off as well. Why? Because she was too self-centered. That same friend also informed me that she is now unemployed, cheating on her boyfriend with multiple men and posting Instagram stories with them, always obscuring their faces. She also shares pictures of herself in therapy and taking medication, along with vague, dramatic captions about how she loved too deeply and now finds herself needing medication. It is as if she craves the entire world to witness how chaotic her life has become. So it was not only me. I will not pretend that losing her did not hurt, it did. She was my best friend, the only one who shared my childhood hobbies and interests. But in the end, friendship is not merely about shared interests, it is about how you treat one another. And she never treated me the way I deserved. I am also aware she is speaking negatively about me to her friends. It is unjust to be depicted as the antagonist when they do not know the full story, but honestly, I no longer care. Because I have come to understand. It is preferable to be the villain in her narrative than to be the villain in my own by sacrificing my well-being for her convenience. Let them believe what they wish. I owe no one an explanation. Story 4. Heartbroken at 25, I was ready for couples therapy while he admitted, I'm too low to maintain a relationship. After 5 years and plans for our future in Spain, he suddenly ghosted, proclaiming we were incompatible. How could I lose my first love overnight? Hello, I apologize for the lengthy message, but I truly need some guidance. I am 25 years old female and recently experienced a breakup with my boyfriend, well, now my ex-boyfriend, who is 30 years old male. We were together for 5 years. We just celebrated our anniversary with a trip to Seville and Malaga in March, making the breakup feel particularly shocking and painful. It has been about 3 weeks since he ended our relationship, and honestly, everything in my life feels like it is falling apart. I lost my job shortly after 2 weeks to the day he broke up with me because my position was made redundant. I have been struggling with panic attacks. I have a panic disorder which I am addressing with my therapist and doctor. I genuinely tried to improve our relationship. I even suggested a trial separation, and he always claimed he would consider couples therapy if we were struggling, but now he is not interested. I feel like I lost myself over the past 5 years trying to make it work with him. He was the love of my life, my first relationship, my first everything. I was not particularly interested in dating during my teenage years due to being bullied and not fitting in with others. I met him while working a retail job I just started in 2020. I had never met anyone who understood me. Do you know what I mean? He made me feel seen in a way no one else ever had. I always struggled with fitting in. I was bullied severely in high school and college, and I had family issues during my teenage years. To summarize, my father cheated on my mother with a family friend, and my sister and I had to tell our mother, which left me with trust issues and other complications. Our relationship was not perfect, but I believed in being present and choosing each other every day. However, looking back through 5 years of messages on WhatsApp, I now realize that perhaps he was never entirely prepared for a serious relationship. In the beginning, he indicated he was not interested in a relationship, but then we grew closer and I became his girlfriend. I loved him, he was patient and kind. He waited 6 months until we were intimate since it was my first time. However, in hindsight, I said, I love you first, and he replied 3 to 4 months later during a night out. I faced significant challenges with my panic disorder a couple of years ago, and he remained by my side and supported me through it. I managed to gain control over the panic attacks, and I was doing quite well until the last few weeks. We had our problems like every couple, but I felt I was particularly struggling with our communication. We discussed this, and I genuinely believe things worsened after his father unexpectedly passed away nearly 2 years ago. This was incredibly hard on our relationship. He did not want me at the hospital when his father was there, nor did he want me to come around and support him when his father passed away, but I still made an effort to drop off homemade cinnamon buns and cakes for him and his family. I attended his father's funeral, where I met all his family for the first time. I only met his brother after his father passed away, 3 years into our relationship. His explanation was that his brother was difficult, so I attempted to be understanding. I only became genuinely involved in his family life after his father passed away, to be honest. Do not misunderstand me. I did stay over at his house occasionally. I met his parents a year into the relationship, and I did go out once a year at Christmas time with his mother and him. Their family dynamic has apparently always been this way. They never involved girlfriends or partners around the family, possibly due to his childhood experiences with his father's illness. I was the first girl he loved, the first girl he introduced to his parents and family, the first to stay at his house, and the first to go on a family holiday with him after his father's passing. He had only one relationship before me, which was on and off during high school, so he was around 17 to 19 years old at the time and remained single for 7 years after. I met him when I was 25 and he was 20. Around 2 years in, we both established a joint goal of moving to Spain for a couple of months after 5 years together. We both started learning Spanish, and that was our goal. Last year, we also planned a trip to Japan for 2026 and agreed to undertake a new travel adventure every year for the next 3 years. However, I wanted to move in with him, and I expressed this from the beginning. I desired the house and the dog, and I wanted a travel companion to experience life with, and I thought I found that in him. Fast forward to now, this past year has been difficult, do not get me wrong. We were arguing a bit more, and our plans to go to Spain are now completely off the table due to his father's passing. It started becoming me who was only focusing on our Japan plans. I sensed he was distancing himself. He stopped putting effort into our dates, became uncomfortable with my affection, and when I stayed over or he would stay over, instead of prioritizing our time together in the morning with cuddles and tea, he began to go on his phone. Additionally, I think sex became very much based on his terms. It was only when he was in the mood, and most of the time when I was in the mood, he was not. I expressed this to him last month after our anniversary trip, and he apologized, stating it was just his mood and that he was still struggling. I said I understood and reminded him that I would always be there for him. I then encouraged him to consider seeking the free therapy offered at work again. I suggested this last year when I noticed he was being less patient or empathetic during our arguments. He said he would think about it but never looked into it and asked me not to put any pressure on him, so I did not. Then 3 weeks ago, we had a conversation about our relationship where we needed to truly start understanding each other. I told him I needed more reassurance and a clearer plan for the future. He stated he required more understanding from me. We both agreed to work on the relationship because we loved each other so much. We decided to go on more dates and try to do more spontaneous things to avoid becoming too structured. That same week, we saw each other only once on Tuesday. On Wednesday, he told me he loved me and that he did not want to lose me over the phone. We were set to see each other on Saturday for a hike. However, on Friday, we argued because he informed me about Saturday, so I kept it free, only to find out later that he had made plans with his brother in the morning. I was frustrated because we had just agreed to start making time for each other, and he did not even consider keeping the day free for us. I was upset during the call with him, and afterward we did not speak that night. We gave each other time to cool off. I texted him to express that it hurt that we did not reach out to each other afterward, and then he attempted to end things via text message after 5 years. In summary, I told him to come over for a conversation before making any hasty decisions. He initially claimed the reason for the breakup was his low mood and that I could not sustain a relationship under those circumstances. I told him that I was willing to work with him on it since I have my reasons for leaving, but he outweighed every justification to go. However, he remained steadfast in his decision and attempted to go no contact overnight. He would only reply to emails and stopped answering my calls over the weekend. He recently told me we are incompatible, which is incorrect. We shared so many interests and had numerous joint goals, yet he just pushed me away. After all of this, how do I move on when he was my everything? I look at him and still smile at our photos. I am so lost. I feel like I exerted so much effort into the relationship, yet maybe he was never serious about me. Additionally, the fact that I have no job adds another layer of stress on top of this. Story 5. Stuck in a 21-year-long toxic relationship with my boyfriend, I often wonder, if I leave, will he end it all? After years of isolation and emotional turmoil, I found a spark with someone new. Now I'm torn, should I prioritize my life or his? I am a 38-year-old female who has been in a relationship with my boyfriend, a 43-year-old male, since I was 17 years old. I did not have the best home life, and reflecting on those times, I realized that I was seeking an escape from my parents and family drama, which blinded me to the obvious red flags present in our relationship. I was aware that he had some mental health issues, but I had no idea how severe they were, and they did not start worsening until approximately the 5th year of our relationship. I moved out the weekend I graduated high school, with my ceremony on Saturday and being completely moved out by Sunday night. Initially, everything was wonderful, but gradually, issues began to surface. He had a child with his ex-partner, and she became a constant source of stress in our relationship until her death, after which his child went to live with her maternal grandparents. She had repeatedly cheated throughout their relationship, and his insecurities stemming from his childhood and his relationship with her were projected onto me. She engaged in sexual encounters with her male friends, and since most of my friends were male, I was gradually pressured to distance myself from them. Any new friends I made had to receive his approval, which never happened, leaving me without friends since high school. She had affairs with their male neighbors and coworkers, and naturally I faced the same accusations. When I began to repair my relationship with my family, I began to choose them over him, which resulted in my gradual isolation from them. He had a very challenging childhood. Both of his parents struggled with substance abuse, and he was responsible for raising his two younger sisters. Consequently, he never experienced a proper childhood. He has always struggled with anger management and had a difficult time with authority figures, which led him to quit jobs frequently. After leaving one job, he requested a break from work to focus on himself. I consented, believing that he deserved some time off, as he had always been a dedicated worker. However, the break never ended. Eventually, he convinced me to allow him to stay home while I worked, even as I was supporting myself through community college. I chose not to accept an offer from a state college in order to remain close to him. I managed two jobs while taking a full course load, and he pursued various art projects which I financed and handled household chores. He has borderline personality disorder, among other conditions, and he continually cycled through new projects, with most remaining unfinished. Whenever I acquired a new job or accepted a promotion that altered my hours, he would accuse me of being unfaithful with my coworkers or managers. Consequently, I had to save all my time card slips, and eventually I resorted to recording myself clocking in and out. If neighbors were on their back porch when I returned home, he would claim that I was actually cheating with the neighbor and had merely snuck out the back to walk around to the front of the apartments. I would engage in arguments and then beg and plead, as we fought for hours over my alleged cheating. He would accuse me of not caring about or listening to him, and when I finally broke down and cried, he would assert that I was trying to emotionally manipulate him and play the victim. When his mother and niece died in a car accident, if I were even 5 minutes late coming home, I would find him either enraged or panicking and crying. There was a specific male coworker of mine whom he despised because he sold me marijuana years before it became legal, when our regular dealer was unavailable. He constantly accused me of having an affair with him. My boyfriend is the only person I have ever been with, and this accusation would deeply affect me. He would instruct me to avoid interacting with this coworker, but given that he was my colleague, that was impossible. He permitted me to purchase marijuana from this coworker when supplies were low, but it always resulted in a significant conflict. One night when I was getting a bag from this coworker, his supplier was delayed, causing me to stay longer than anticipated. This incident ignited a years-long fight that still resurfaces. He accused me of engaging in sexual acts and compelled me to quit that job the following day, which marked a turning point in both our relationship and his mental health. During these disputes, I occasionally mentioned a friend of his from the early days of our relationship who made me uncomfortable. He eventually ceased communication with her, but only after I threatened to end our relationship upon walking in on them cuddling on his bed. To be honest, I am unsure how he persuaded me to stay, and I regret listening to him. Years later, while intoxicated, he confessed that he had been grinding against her, though he claimed that nothing more occurred. I should have been furious, but by that point I felt so defeated that I no longer cared. I had completely shut down as a person, becoming a mere shell who worked, endured being screamed at, slept, and repeated the cycle. He has always been extremely particular about the words he uses. He claims to mean what he says, and would become angry if I corrected or clarified something I had said, interpreting it as a lie. If I took too long to respond, he assumed I was devising a lie. He has done and said things to me that I will never disclose to anyone, but he has physically harmed me, albeit not in recent years. He has a history of self-harm, inflicting cuts on his arms and chest, branding his body during intense fits of rage, and regarding what I am willing to admit, I have been slapped, punched, kicked, smothered, and burned. I have felt worthless and unimportant, suffering both mentally and physically, having been neglected and forgotten so much. I had decided that I would end my life on my 40th birthday if my cat was not alive, and if he was, I would wait for his death to follow. My boyfriend has frequently stated that he put all his eggs in my basket, and that he would reach a breaking point if our relationship did not succeed. He refuses to seek medical help and self-medicates by using marijuana and alcohol. He broke his neck at the age of 19 during a moment of rage and never underwent physical therapy. As a result, his neck and back have deteriorated to the point where he can hardly stand for more than 10 minutes without experiencing issues. For the past several years, I have worked two jobs while managing 95% of the household responsibilities, in addition to trying to maintain our emotional well-being. About 5 years ago, I made my decision. I honestly do not know if he would take his own life if I left, but there is a significant chance he might. He is estranged from his siblings and remaining family, his mother and stepfather are deceased, and he has not spoken to his biological father in over 20 years. If I were to leave, he would have nowhere to go and no one to help him, and I do not want to bear the responsibility for his death. Therefore, I endure, dreading each morning, detesting returning home and loathing my life. Ultimately, this situation is my fault. What is most disappointing is that he claims he is trying to change and improve himself, and I have found a glimmer of hope for my future. Though I feel ashamed, I have begun an emotional affair. While bored at work, I made a post on a chatting subreddit and connected with someone immediately. I had heard about some individuals experiencing a deep connection, but I never believed it until I met this person. I initially sought to alleviate my boredom at work and stumbled upon someone who listens to me and makes me feel appreciated, desired, and respected. He does not pressure me but allows me to open up when I am ready, and I could spend endless hours conversing with him. He makes me feel as though I am in middle school again, and he shares that sentiment. I realize that it may sound foolish, but there is a genuine connection. I want to leave, but I fear being responsible for my boyfriend's death if he decides to commit suicide. However, for the first time in a long while, I yearn to live, and I am unsure of the appropriate course of action. He truly would not manage without me, but I do not know how long I can continue to endure. I left my overnight job early and am sitting in a parking lot typing this on my phone because going home after finishing work could provoke a confrontation, as I have never come home this early and he might begin to expect it. I am uncertain of the purpose of this post. Perhaps it is simply to express my feelings into the void. I do not know how much longer I can maintain this situation. Story 6. At 15, I'm drowning in my friend's struggles while my own pain is met with indifference. OMG Sammy Twin is not the comfort I need after my parents' constant abuse. I'm left feeling invisible and bitter, afraid my feelings will ruin this cherished trio. What now? Hi, I am a 15-year-old female, and I do not really know how to begin this. I will not provide too many details, only the necessary ones, so I will just start. I am in a wonderful triangular relationship. We genuinely love and care for each other. I have never had a friendship like this before. In all my previous friendships, I simply existed. But with them, I am truly happy. I love them and they love me as well. Of course, my past experiences come up now and then, trust issues and all, but deep down, I know those thoughts are not true, so everything is fine. I know they care about me and I care about them. We are open about our feelings, the kind of things we would never share with anyone else in a million years. None of us freely confide in people, but that is actually what I want to discuss. One of my best friends and I jokingly say, "Oh, you are my twin, where have you been?" Because honestly, our life experiences are so similar, at least regarding the negative aspects. I am not going to sit here and boast about being the therapist friend, but I am the one who is always there to comfort them. My other friend is almost always offline, so when things get heavy, it is just me. Both of them have told me how much they appreciate talking to me about these issues, how valuable my advice is, and how comforting I am. Perhaps the advice I give is simply what I wish someone would say to me, but I do not offer advice solely for the sake of it. I listen, I consider their situations, and I speak from a place of genuine care. I do not view it as a chore. I want to be there for them because I love them. So it is reassuring to know that she feels safe confiding in me. However, when it comes to my own struggles, it is different. Whenever I attempt to discuss my own issues, the response is always the same. OMG Sammy Twin. That is unfortunate, you should not have to experience that. Girl, oh that is rough. And that is it. I pour my heart out, typing paragraph after paragraph structured essays, really, in an effort to comfort her. After hours of talking and reassuring her when she needs it, when I finally open up. It is not that I need hours of comfort, but at least something to make me feel like I am being heard in the same way I ensure she feels heard. We both face difficult situations, but she has it better. I do not mean to compare traumas. I know that pain is pain and it is not a competition. Her parents are far more lenient compared to mine. Sure, they argue and get angry with her sometimes, but after she cries enough, she gets what she wants: school trips, hangouts, anything. If I so much as mention hanging out with friends, I am labeled a promiscuous individual. Crying does nothing in my case, it only makes things worse, so I must suppress those tears. Meanwhile, my parents argue daily, no exaggeration. It often culminates in physical violence and the usual verbal abuse from the person my mother married. I feel wrong for wanting to be comforted with more than just OMG same, or my dad tried to do that with my mom once and never again. Reading that genuinely hurt me. She had a bad experience with a male friend texting online after school. Yes, it escalated and ended poorly, which her parents eventually found out about. Though that must have been terrifying, initially I questioned how one could fall for that, but later, after some conversation, I understood and never judged her for it. I was genuinely worried for her. However, after their initial anger, she is fine now. She has been caught multiple times despite our warnings to clear everything up. Meanwhile, I cannot even imagine doing something like that. I would not dare text a boy from school like that out of fear. I get in trouble for merely existing, and I face consequences for something as trivial as not responding quickly enough when I am called. I fear even having social media, even though I do nothing on it. She complains that everyone hates her and that nothing ever goes her way, yet everything always does. After enough crying, she gets her way. Meanwhile, I could break down every day and it would not change a thing. If anything, it would make things worse. She is able to freely stay with her grandparents and throw the typical teenage tantrums. I wish that were the case for me. Moreover, she constantly mentions self-harm, suicide, and her online depression tests over and over again, even involving her parents. I face physical harm weekly. The man my mother married has suggested killing me before, has attempted before, all over the most trivial things like not reading the Bible in time. And I am expected to accept a simple, "wow, that is unfortunate," as comfort. I would not even dare to bring up suicide with my parents. They would probably assist me with it. She frequently talks about how everyone exploits her kindness, how she is just too sweet and loving, and I have to affirm that, constantly. She is also beautiful. She receives love confessions, anonymous messages, and people at school tell her she is the prettiest girl around. And yes, she is absolutely stunning. I have a lovely best friend. She is insecure as anyone is, but unless we are sending her love letter tier compliments daily, she thinks we are lying. I do not mind hyping her up. I love her. I want her to feel good about herself. However, when I gather the courage to ask if I look okay, I do not receive the same enthusiasm. I do not need an over-the-top response, just something simple like, "Oh yeah, that dress looks cute on you." That would suffice. But I do not even receive that, just the usual bland response, "Oh no, you are pretty," as if it were said out of obligation. Am I asking for too much? Today was just another repeat of everything I have already expressed. She was venting about how horribly her life was going, even though she literally had her way yesterday. After comforting her for a while and resolving that, a while later, I decided to share my own bad news. I was crying. And do you know what she said? "Oh, that was it." I replied, "Yeah." And then she privately messaged me about how her life is still spiraling downhill and how she wants to end it. So I had to once again be the one to console her. I became so exhausted that I decided to leave, saying I would talk to her later. My other friend is almost always offline with notifications off. When she does see the messages, she merely reacts to them. When I do speak to her, the conversation is dry. But to be fair, she grew up in a loving family. She cannot relate to any of this, so it makes sense that she is unsure of how to respond. I do not want to ruin this friendship because of my feelings. These two are some of the best things that have ever happened to me. I love them. We engage in the silliest escapades together. We are genuinely comfortable with each other. However, they easily open up because they know what the response will be. I do not feel that way because I already know how it will go. So here I am feeling bitter and horrible, trying to comfort myself over unfortunate news. Because whenever I attempt to speak, it is either dismissed or ignored. Meanwhile, she receives hours of consolation, leaves feeling happy and content, and ultimately gets her way. And again, I do not have an issue with things working out for her. That is great. I want that for her. It is simply the negativity, the constant woe is me attitude. And I have to uplift her every time, about how she is so kind, sweet, and loving, how everyone takes advantage of her, and how she is just too nice for the world. I do not want my own bitterness and loneliness to damage something so significant to me, so I had to vent somewhere.